Welcome back, everyone. It is Sunday sit-down time. We got PowerMizzou's Drew King joining us for Sunday sit-down tonight. We're going to break down some Tiger basketball. Hasn't been a banner couple of weeks, I would say, for the Mizzou men's basketball team. Kind of break it down for us. What's happening right now? It seems like they just can't get over this hump.
Yeah, it's been an interesting start to conference play so far. It kind of feels like Mizzou can either be good on offense or good on defense, but has struggled to do both in the same game, right? So you think back to Kentucky earlier in the weekend. You know, score 77 points, one of their better performances in the SEC, but give up 90 points to the Wildcats. And then last night against South Carolina, you know, hold them to 70 points in an overtime game, which is pretty low, but only come up with 68. So they're struggling to find a good balance between both ends of the floor, and so that's kind of where they're coming up short in these games.
Yeah, you know, we were talking about post-game sustained offense. They weren't really able to buy a basket in overtime there, especially they got it near the end, but, you know, in overtime, most of the time couldn't buy a basket there. You know, what have you seen from this offense? It feels like you said, it's either really hot, really cold, can never be in between, right?
Yeah, so last night's game, it was kind of a rock fight, really, because both teams were playing excellent defense. I thought that South Carolina head coach Lamont Paris made a point about, you know, he took out Meechie Johnson, who's their leading scorer, because they needed that extra emphasis on the defensive end. And that kind of changed the feel of the game for Mizzou, where they really struggled to get to the basket, find open looks around the perimeter. So that was kind of the difference in overtime there. You know, Dennis Gates called timeout, had a play drawn up on the baseline, and they just couldn't get a good look that would keep them in the game at the end there.
Right. You know, one thing I feel like we've been noticing is really getting to the free throw line. It's been a struggle for Mizzou. It seems like to get to the free throw line, do we think Dennis Gates will never say it? Is it the refs, or do we think Mizzou's just not doing enough to draw those fouls?
I think it's a little bit of both, right? You know, for one, maybe Mizzou doesn't get the respect of the refs all the time. There's not a whole lot of well-known players on this roster. You know, Sean East has taken a big leap forward, but everybody else is either coming into the SEC for the first time or came from a mid-major program. So it's a little bit tough to get the superstar calls when that's the case. But, you know, on top of that, like, Mizzou's got some smaller guys driving to the rim. You think about Nick Honor, he's only 5'10". It's tough to convince a referee that the contact is enough to warrant a foul because of kind of your size in there. So, yeah, like, free throws have been a little bit of an issue for Mizzou, but I think it's on multiple fronts there.
Right. Well, you know, obviously still searching for that first SEC win. They're going to go to Alabama, try to get that done there. If you're Dennis Gates, you know, yesterday, really short press conference, in and out there. It felt like, you know, obviously this team very disappointed in how things are going. You know, how do we keep this morale up a little bit? It seems like, you know, Noah Carter said he's working on that as well. Yeah,
so one thing you can't question about the team is the fight, right? They, aside from the bragging rights game, they've been in every single game in a position to win. And so I think that's going to continue to be the case with this group. Alabama's a tough team, but I think it is a beatable group. On top of that, like, you think about, it's a very senior-heavy team. A lot of guys are going into their last year of college basketball. So I don't expect this to be a team that lies down very easily. This is a proud group, and they're going to wait very impatiently for Caleb Grill to get back from injury, because I think that he'll be kind of a turning point for them. But yeah, I think that Mizzou's not going to throw in the towel on the season. They're going to try to win as many games as they can.
Well, I want to touch on Caleb Grill, because we did get an update about him this week. Still no timeline, really. It kind of seemed like they're waiting it out. But, you know, just talk about the impact of having a Caleb Grill out there. He's a guy who really kind of just brings that fire, I feel like, on the court. Having a guy like that back, what's that going to do?
So, for one, it'll give them an extra edge on defense. Caleb Grill was one of their best perimeter defenders when he was healthy. In the games since Mizzou has lost Caleb Grill, their points allowed average has gone up by 10 points. And part of that is due to kind of the level of competition taking a jump, but part of it's also that Caleb Grill's been out. And so I think that they miss his attitude on the court, kind of, like I said, you know, he kind of changed the game with the technical he got in Minnesota and had the 20-point comeback. So I think that he's a leader on the team. So they're missing him pretty desperately right now, I feel like.
Well, I feel like a guy that's really taken a step forward, Tamar Baits. I mean, the past 6 games, you know, what kind of leap have you seen him make?
Yeah. it's a guy that they've needed, right? Going into the season, they might have had a feeling that Sean East was going to be the #1 guy. I'm sure they were banking on Nick Honor and Noah Carter taking a leap forward, taking on a bigger role. I'm not sure that they expected this out of Tamar Baits, and he's really been the second guy in this offense, and has been super efficient shooting the ball. I think you asked the question from Dennis Gates yesterday, you know, Tamar's shooting 50% from the field, 50% from three, 90% from the free throw line. He's a guy that has really kind of unlocked a new level for himself at Mizzou, coming from Indiana, and so he's been super helpful for the team this year.
Well, Noah Carter was a guy I feel like who was tasked with a lot this season. Obviously, you lose a guy like Kobe Brown, you need someone to step up, right? You know, what do you feel like the Tigers are seeing from Noah Carter this season? Do you feel like there's maybe still another notch he needs to step up, maybe?
Yeah, it's been kind of up and down for Noah Carter. He had a really good start to the season and then got into a little bit of a shooting slump. Now he's starting to rally back a little. I think he's doing a good job of kind of exposing mismatches when he gets a smaller guy defending him. He'll take him into the post and work him inside. I think that they need to have him continue to shoot the ball a little bit better. I think he was 1 for 7 from 3 maybe yesterday, but kind of stepped it up toward the end there. So they just need him to kind of find a little bit better of a rhythm on offense, be that third option behind Sean East and Tamar Baits. And I think once that happens, you'll find a little bit more stability moving forward.
Yeah, you know, we've seen Dennis Gates kind of tinker with the starting 5 a little bit. It seems like having Aiden Shaw in there, a little bit of a jolt of energy. You know, do you feel like this is a starting 5 we could see him rolling with for quite a bit of time now with Tamar Baits in there as well?
Yeah, I think that there's definitely like 4 solidified starters with Nick Honor, Sean East, Tamar Baits, Noah Carter. It's that 5-man that's kind of been the rotating guy. And I think that it'll kind of continue to change given the situation, right? Aiden Shaw has been playing pretty well, had the really nice breakout game against Georgia, and then, you know, has taken a little bit of a step back these past 2 games. And so I wouldn't be shocked to see a change in the starting 5 in the next game, right? Connor Vanover has made starts before, Trent Pierce, Jordan Butler. Like, he'll have options to continue to go to, but he's looking for somebody that'll be consistent in that role. And I think that's what kind of they're missing from that spot right now.
Will be interesting to see what they do in the next few weeks. No, looking for that first SEC win. I appreciate you making some time on a Sunday crew. For the rest of you guys, we'll be right back after the break.